Chapter 2161-62 Assassination 2-in-1 Chapter. Zhang Yi brother. Mu Yan called out somewhat stiffly. This was already the limit of what she could do. Do you think I still have a chance? Mu Yan has followed Zhang Yi for a long time. Although her presence is very low, she plays a great auxiliary role to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi thought for a moment, then plopped down on the sofa and asked, "Why do you want to become stronger?" The use of ritual spirits must be done with caution. Mu Yan's role is to carry other people with her, and now her role is enough. Mu Yan bit her lip and said, "If I become stronger, I will definitely be able to give you more help." Zhang Yi felt goosebumps all over his body. This girl with nothing even had no experience in pleasing others. "Okay, stop calling me brother." Mu Yan breathed a sigh of relief, but then she heard Zhang Yi say, "Just call me Dad." Mu Yan. Mu Yan's expression was very strange, and Zhang Yi burst into laughter. "Just kidding. But then again, you rarely say hello to me. Even when we meet on weekdays, you just nod." "Well, from now on, just like them, call me Supreme." "Supreme Highness." Zhang Yi likes this name very much. Mu Yan breathed a sigh of relief. "Yes, Your Excellency." She stood at attention in front of Zhang Yi. "If you can give me this opportunity, I will seize it and will not let you down." Zhang Yi leaned back on the sofa and began to think carefully. If he has no use for the sacrificial spirit for the time being, he can keep it and absorb it himself later, or leave it to other people in the family. He will not use the ritual spirit just for the sake of using it. After a long moment, he stared at Mu Yan and said, "I don't need your combat power right now. If you are promoted to Ypsilon, I think it would be best for you to focus on improving your support abilities." After Mu Yan's promotion, considering her talent, she would at most be a white chariot-level mutant. Zhang Yi is not lacking in this level of combat capability. However, if it is an auxiliary attribute ability, it will be completely different. For example, Liu Karen and Zhou Qier, the role they provide to Zhang Yi is even greater than that of a bishop-level alien. You must remember this firmly. Only then will I be able to give you the spirit of sacrifice. Zhang Yi was giving Mu Yan a strong psychological hint. Delta's promotion to Ypsilon is equivalent to a second mutation, reaching a new dimension of life. During this process, superpowers will also produce more powerful characteristic mutations. Superpowers are born from the thoughts in one's mind. The direction Mu Yan thinks in is the direction in which her abilities change. When Mu Yan heard the softening of Zhang Yi's tone, her body trembled slightly with excitement. Yes, I, Mu Yan, will dedicate my life and everything I have to the Supreme." Zhang Yi rubbed the back of his hands, then slowly handed her the box containing the spirit of sacrifice. "Think of it and absorb it well during these few days. I will also pass on some experience on absorbing the spirit of sacrifice. This should speed up your advancement." Mu Yan took the box with trembling hands, then nodded solemnly. "I won't let you down." As she spoke, she carefully held the box and went to the basement. As for the remaining portion, Zhang Yi looked at the remaining sacrificial spirit and smiled faintly. "Keep it for now. There are also many Delta-level mutants in the team who are stuck at the upper limit of their talents. For example, in the Fueying army, many people have reached this limit. After all, the feeding of centipedes is not in vain. After consuming so much of Zhang Yi's yuanshi or veins for feeding, this result is only natural. However, at present, no one can gain Zhang Yi's complete trust. Excluding the family members in the shelter, the ones at the top of Zhang Yi's trust ladder are Bailey Chongqing and Deng Shintong. But after all, they still have some connections with Blizzard City, and Zhang Yi needs more time to test them. Inside the Wulwan Empire, because Zhu Yu was causing trouble everywhere, the news could no longer be suppressed, and the entire empire was alarmed. All residents are in danger. Everyone has a chip implanted in their body and must be checked every day. It's not so easy to deal with Zhu Yu. She was hiding in the sewer at this time, which was the only place with less intensive surveillance. She gnawed on the lizardman's food. Although she was not very used to the taste, it was enough to fill her stomach. The smell of the sewer was very bad, but she didn't mind at all. Instead, she felt an unprecedented excitement about this grand game of hide-and-seek. She suddenly wanted to give it a try. If she could kill all the lizard men in this country by herself. Wouldn't that be interesting? Zhu Yu's eyes were filled with excitement, and he bit the bread-like food in his hand even harder. After eating and drinking, she started to head towards the ground. It was early morning in the Wulwan Empire. Even the lizard men were mostly asleep at this moment and were in their most defenseless state. She changed her appearance and had a body that could be used for 3 days, thus being able to avoid detection by various instruments. But within 3 days, she must change into a brand new body and must kill the opponent instantly without allowing the opponent to struggle, otherwise there is a possibility of being exposed. Relying on her understanding of the Wulwan Empire, she appeared in a slum area in the South City. Even the most advanced civilizations have classes and poor people. However, the poor in the Wulwan Empire were able to get enough food and clothing. It's time to get a new body. Zhu Yu took a look at his body. It belonged to a lizardman office worker, a middle-aged man with a big belly. Zhu Yu looked around, hid in a blind spot of the surveillance camera, and then sneaked into a private house. The lights were on in the room. In the current Wulwan Empire, people do not turn off the lights when they go to bed at night. Because of the existence of the indiscriminate killer, people dare not turn off the lights. When Zhu Yu sneaked in, he could see his father sitting in the living room with a laser weapon in his hand and a serious look on his face. There are jars and bells that make noises placed around the room. I'm very cautious, but it's pointless. Without saying a word, Zhu Yu turned into a black shadow and rushed forward. Before the father could react, it swallowed up his body. He didn't have time to react before his brain was controlled, and he couldn't even pull the trigger of the gun he was holding. Zhu Yu quickly absorbed his body and also took control of his memory. There are 3 people in the family. Zhu Yu sighed and stood up. It would be nice if it was someone who lived alone. She can hide it from most people, but she cannot hide it from the loved ones of the person whose body has been possessed, because memories can be devoured, but her own behavior habits cannot be changed. This is very dangerous. So she walked to the back. When I opened the door, I saw a female lizard man sleeping with her child in her arms. The 2 of them were hugging each other tightly. I don't know if they had a nightmare, but their brows were furrowed. Zhu Yu didn't hesitate at all and directly reunited the family of 3. Since they are a foreign race and a hostile one at that, there is no need to show any mercy to them. It's just like these lizard people would clap excitedly when they saw the news about their respected god of war Zhenglu issuing an order to use a tsunami to drown hundreds of thousands of humans along the coast of Huashu Kingdom. But after killing the 3 members of this family, Zhu Yu had to leave immediately, because the biochips in their bodies will definitely start to sound the alarm. Zhu Yu left this home and prepared to move to another place to find a otaku to kill. After all, even if the otaku died, no one would find out. She turned around and was about to leave, but just as she passed the chandelier in the living room, a dangerous aura suddenly came over her. Zhu Yu's pupils shrank suddenly, and he turned around quickly, wanting to do something. But before she even raised her hands, a thin line quickly appeared on her neck. Puff! The lizardman's head transformed back into that of her young girl. It was a very beautiful head, with skin as white as snow and seaweed-like hair, just like a princess in a fairy tale. Such a beautiful head flew high up with blood. It was indescribably sad and beautiful. Zhu Yu's eyes were still moving, as if searching for the enemy who attacked her. But no matter how she tried to sense, she didn't notice the presence of anyone around. Even that attack came silently, without even a breeze. It was as if a phantom light had cut her head apart. On this day, the military of the Wulwan Empire contacted the uninhabited island as usual. This is the military headquarters. Please report on the progress of today's mission. This is the Spiders, Denver. We've hunted another group of humans today. The humans are becoming more and more active, and the traps we set are becoming a huge temptation for them. I believe it won't be long before chaos falls into the trap. Got it. Please keep going. We are waiting for the good news of your victory. When the news reached Zhenglu's ears, He nodded with satisfaction, and his expression relaxed a lot. We can't rush this matter. Those cunning humans are not that easy to fool. However, their greedy nature is destined to make them fall into the trap. As long as I can kill that guy from the time and space system, then the Huashu kingdom will have nothing to worry about. Zheng Lu said with a sharp look. He had to admit that Zhang Yi's growth rate scared him. Now that the two of them were facing each other head-on, Zhang Yi was no match for him, but since the other party didn't fight him, he couldn't catch up with him. If one day, Zhang Yi reaches a level close to his, it will definitely be a disaster for the entire Wulwan Empire. Chaos. You must die. The landing of the Wulwan Empire is also inevitable. He muttered to himself. Why must we occupy the land where Huashu Kingdom is located? This is a document that only core figures in the royal family can read. That piece of land had played a huge role in suppressing the resurgent Druk giant god at the end of the last era. It seems that there is some mysterious power beneath that land. According to the speculation of the ancestors of the Wulwan Empire, it might be the power left over from a god-level civilization in a previous era. What is a god-level civilization? Only a civilization that possesses power close to that of a god and is able to compete with the Druks can be called a god-level civilization. Although the Ihan tribe is powerful, they are not the only one. The fourth generation of Yak people who appeared later and the fifth generation of Ihuan people also had a highly civilized god-level civilization. However, the span of a civilization is very long, and there is more than one race. Just like among the sixth generation, there are currently known land people and deep-sea mermaids. Therefore, even though the Wulwan Empire knew the existence of the Qinling Dragon Clan, it decided to fight for it. We must plan carefully and seize the next piece of Huashu Nation's territory before the day of its fall. Zheng Lu's eyes were full of fierceness. As the saying goes, if you want to perform a play, you have to do it completely. It can be said that Zhang Yi used Ling's power to instantly kill all the people from the Wulwan Empire on the uninhabited island. It went incredibly smoothly because the information gap between the two sides was ridiculously large. Zhang Yi hoped that the Wulwan Empire would be arrogant enough and look down on them enough. He first asked Lu Karen to take over the communication equipment of Clot and others, and then arranged for a group of mechanical life forms to enter the uninhabited island.
Do what?
Continue to pretend that there are still signs of alien existence there.
Zhang, he was not polite either.
He would kill any alien team that approached the dungeon. The foreigners from all the powerful countries knew that there was something fishy going on here, so no one came. Later, because so many people died here, fewer aliens from small and medium-sized countries with well-informed information came here. Those who came later were lone wolves who did not belong to any force or small-scale organizations, who wanted to fight for a future. Zhang Yi would not show mercy to them and dye the uninhabited island red with their blood in order to prevent anyone from the Wulwan Empire from discovering that something was wrong. As for the Doomsday weapons on the island, Zhang Yi asked Lu Karen to dismantle them. Lu Qian figured it out as soon as he studied it. The technology level is indeed very high, but the technology is similar to that of the love-death god. Using existing nuclear materials, even those finished love-death gods can be transformed and upgraded. Ahem, needless to say, who will be responsible for this job? Of course, it's the chief mechanical engineer, Lu Karen. When a large-scale war really breaks out, Zhang Yi, Lu Qian, and Yang Xinxin will respectively take on the main responsibilities of force deterrence, battlefield command, and logistical armament provision, and none of the three can be missing. More than 4 months have passed since Zhang Yi returned from the Devil's Eye. For half a year, Blizzard City was bustling with activity, and many aliens were training nonstop every day. They also don't know why the war, which was supposed to start in 3 months, has been delayed until now. But they didn't ask. Zhang Yi said he needed to be more prepared. Anyway, the Wulwan Empire no longer came to harass them, so they were happy to enjoy this time. Chapter 2163 The Results of the Combined Attack. After training for such a long time, the two of them have reached a very tacit level of coordination in their abilities. Sometimes they can even understand each other's needs without words. On the training ground, Fatty Sue had already used his ability to blow snow to freeze the entire training ground into a huge ice and snow venue. Deng Shintong held a sharp blade and used the ability of sky etching to refract attacks with the help of ice and snow prisms, allowing his attacks to reach an incredible attack angle, making them impossible to defend against. Zhang Yi watched from the sidelines and nodded from time to time. After training for a while, the two men saw Zhang Yi coming and immediately stopped what they were doing. Lao Da, you're here. Lao Zhang, how's our training going? The two people greeted each other with a smile. Zhang Yi walked over with a smile. It looks good, but you haven't experienced actual combat, right? Next, we can move on to the actual combat phase. Upon hearing this, the two looked at each other. That's true. However, the targets we need to face have very specific abilities. It's difficult to find suitable sparring partners. Zhang Yi said, just practice with other alien groups. Even if their abilities are different, their coordination can be strengthened through actual combat. He walked step by step to the training ground, which was now surrounded by huge icicles, like small hills. Come, you can attack me with the intention of killing me. Zhang Yi was not wearing any armor, but just an ordinary casual white slim combat uniform. He walked forward slowly, and when he encountered icicles blocking his way, he stretched out two fingers and casually drew a line in front of his face. Crack. More than a dozen icicles, each 5 or 6 meters thick, were cut in the middle like tofu. When Deng Shintong saw this scene, his eyes widened. Your abilities have evolved again? Zhang Yi smiled faintly and said disapprovingly, Nonsense. Everyone is making progress every day. Deng Shintong. He really wanted to say, you could have just cursed directly, there was no need to be sarcastic. Seeing Zhang Yi approaching like this, Deng Shintong gritted his teeth and said to Fatty Sue, in that case, there's no need to hold back. We can't kill this guy anyway. Fatty Sue then said, oh. He was self-aware. With just the two of them, if Zhang Yi really wanted to make a move, he could kill them instantly. Lao Da, be gentle, don't take us seriously, he said cautiously. Zhang Yi walked away from them and said with a smile, it's okay, I will be gentle. Zhang Yi didn't even wear the demon armor. He was absolutely unprepared at this moment. Deng Shintong didn't show any signs and directly started using Great Sumeru Illusion. Zhang Yi's eyes were shrouded in phantom light, and all 5 of his senses were affected by the synesthesia of light. He could even hear some confusing sounds in his ears. Faced with this familiar move, Zhang Yi chose to close his eyes. Although he cannot see, the second hand of time can predict the future, so he does not need to observe the outside world with his naked eyes. When his eyes are closed, his other senses are heightened. Mind field. Users with spatial abilities are extremely sensitive to any fluctuations in the surrounding space, not to mention the attacks of aliens. Zhang Yi stood still, waiting for the two to attack. Deng Shintong stretched out his hand and touched his arm. A silver-white holy light enveloped his whole body, and his long silver hair began to fly. Holy body blessing. The entire body is covered with holy light, giving it physical strength comparable to that of the enhancement system, and the glow on the surface of the body is also a powerful defensive shield, enhancing its fighting power. Fatty Sue stood behind Deng Shintong, and in his hand he had condensed a 9-toothed rake with cold energy. He waved his hands vigorously and dug the ground with the rake fiercely. The deep blue cold current instantly spread in all directions and came to Zhang Yi's feet. But after reaching a certain range, you can no longer move forward. There is the spatial realm of all things. Although it was just a trial, Zhang Yi was not so arrogant as to abandon his strongest defense. One after another, huge icicles condensed and grew around Zhang Yi, becoming dozens of meters high and almost breaking through the ceiling of the training ground.
The
sound of sword ringing was heard, and the sharp sword cut through the sky, making a sound like a dragon's roar. But the moment Zhang Yi heard the sound, he saw more than a dozen attacks suddenly emerging from nothingness and stabbing towards every vital part of his body. Etching of the sky. A prism of light and shadow is conjured from nothingness, delivering slashes at the speed of light, giving the enemy no time to react. This was the first time Zhang Yi noticed this move. All attacks naturally fell into the air. Zhang Yi nodded. Very good. An interesting ability. What's next? Faced with Zhang Yi's defense with no blind spots, Deng Xintong and Fatty Su were not discouraged. It was normal to be defeated. They are just showing off the results of their training. It's not over yet,
Deng Xintong said.
After a round of attack ended, at the critical moment, dozens of sword lights came from behind Zhang Yi. Deng Xintong controlled the sword light very cleverly and actually used Fatty Su's icicle to perform a second reflection. In this way, even if you manage to dodge the first round of attacks in a hurry, you will not be able to anticipate the second round of attacks and will be easily hit. Zhang Yi was surprised at the level of coordination between the two. He suddenly released his Sinluo Wanxiang and then condensed his divine power into a black long sword. Next, let me test your martial arts skills. Zhang Yi held the knife in one hand and said to the two of them with a smile. Close combat. In an era where superpowers are rampant, martial arts seem to have become something useless. However, in reality, when people with similar levels of superpowers fight each other, most of the time, this step is inevitable in the end. Because through close combat, one can release one's own supernatural powers to the maximum extent. This can avoid the energy consumption caused by releasing long-range abilities and create maximum lethality. There is another very crucial point. In close combat, attacks will be more difficult to dodge. When Deng Xintong heard that Zhang Yi wanted to compete in martial arts, he suddenly raised the corners of his mouth and laughed. Old Zhang, I admit that you are far stronger than me. But when it comes to swordsmanship, he said, striking a beautiful sword flower and striking a fencing stance, as someone who has studied swordsmanship with a renowned teacher since childhood, I'm no less capable than you. Be careful when you're playing against us too. It's easy to get into trouble. Fatty Su was carrying a nine-toothed rake, but he looked at Deng Xintong with a worried look on his face. You better keep quiet, otherwise you might anger Lauda and get me beaten up too. With me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.